Hello and welcome back to Friday's news segment with myself, Bam Havoc and G. Yes guys, we have got some news for you today. Rather opinion pieces, most likely what we liked and disliked about E3. Essentially, that's effectively it. Short and sweet, keeping to the point. You can talk about Dr. Disrespect getting suspended or banned off Twitch. G wants to talk about it. I don't because meh. Okay, so let's get straight into it. E3 for me was more of the same, really. Nothing was really a surprise. It was all sort of a big sort of unveil, a very sort of, I don't know, like a letdown almost. G?
No, it was interesting because it's the end of a generation, in terms of consoles. And normally things kind of wind down here, but I thought there was just as much as all the other years, at least. And Nintendo was coming out just saying, nope, we're here for the long run. So overall, I think it was interesting.
You see, I got that as well. If Sony and Xbox are thinking about calling it quits on consoles, and Nintendo's are like, we're here for the long haul, I'm thinking I might need to get me a Nintendo's soon and stop with the elitist PC peasantry that I currently enjoy having a PlayStation 4. But honestly, G, for me it was more of the same. Same games are getting called out, same games are getting remade. Cyberpunk 2077 was cool. Gears 5, more of the same really there. I didn't really have anything interesting to say about it. Nothing to sort of entice me.
I think if you look outside of just the big AAAs, there's plenty of it. If you look at Mediatronics, Devolver Digital, the Fall Guys, which is, a battle royale where you play as, Mr. Blobby from UK TV, 100 of him just running on a track and dodging things. I think that can actually end up being quite funny.
Yep, you're right. I should look elsewhere apart from the big names at E3. And as I mentioned in Wednesday's segment, as an independent podcast, as in we mostly speak to indie developers, we only had 3 indie games on our lot. And that just really goes to show how big E3 really was, but at the same breath, it wasn't anything interesting or exciting. We let the tide down there, I think, only having found 3 that really piqued our interests.
But if you go to things like Ubisoft, they had Roller Champions, which is a small but really fun-looking title. It's in pre-alpha, the demo that's literally been rolling right now. I think they're taking it down today, tomorrow, one of these days.
I think it's tomorrow, mate.
It's Rocket League, but in a circle on roller skates with people instead of cars. It looks good fun, and everything I hear from it is that it is good fun.
For me, E3 was, more of the same. Really, they need to sort of do something very different next year to sort of entice the crowds back. But then, E3 is not just about video games, is it?
Well, it's electronic entertainment. So, there was a little bit about the consoles themselves. Beyond that, that's really what they focused on, I think.
Again, more of the same. You sound a bit frazzled there, G. Was this week hectic for you with regards to containing your excitement about the new sort of Dragon Age that's coming out?
Well, that's the thing. No information at all. It was just, okay, there was their presentation, and there was nothing about, nothing Anthem, nothing BioWare, nothing Dragon Age, nothing Mass Effect, really.
Do you think BioWare are keeping their cards close to the chest, a bit like...
I think they're scared. I think it's a case of they don't want to talk about Anthem because people will get angry if it isn't perfect. The next step, a little bit like we saw with Fallout. And they can't talk about the 2 others, partly because it's too early, partly because people don't want BioWare to be working on anything but fixing Anthem right now. Not saying everybody's feeling that way, but there will be a vocal group that will complain, which we again saw when BioWare said, we're moving these people over to Dragon Age 4 because that's the next project. So they don't want to talk about Dragon Age 4, the next project, because people get upset about Anthem. Don't want to talk about Anthem because people get upset about Anthem. And Mass Effect 5 is ages away. There's nothing to say.
Quite right. But they should have really said something. Should have really said something about Anthem. Really should have, I think. Even though I know...
swinging, go for it. Say something about Anthem. Just at least, they did say, we're still working on it. There'll be more news in the future. Slightly more than that. Not a lot, but slightly more than that.
Well, I have to compare EA to Anthem as Activision to Bungie. As I'm sure you know, this week Bungie has thrown some serious shade at Activision and how Activision actively disrupted the game development and gameplay. And I can only think, and I'm only guessing here, what EA has done to Anthem, forcing them to use Frostbite 4, forcing them to do things to the game that Frostbite just cannot handle, so on and so forth. However, EA isn't all to blame. It's a lot to do with BioWare as well, being quite lackadaisical about developing the game as well. I really, really want to play Anthem. I really, really do. But if this Cataclysm doesn't go well, guess what? The game's going to get shelved, and I'm glad I haven't wasted my money on it.
Well, when you compare it to Destiny, the interesting part is Destiny is now free to play effect.
Yes.
And that might be the route for Anthem. If Cataclysm doesn't go well, sorry, that was a Dungeons and Dragons reference, then yeah, I think free to play and salvage it through the marketing procedures that Bungie is now doing. As you said, they left Activision and they changed everything with how the game is marketed, how it's monetized. I think what they're doing is correct, and I think that could be a salvage for Anthem if it goes south with the next update. But if you look at Fallout, they came out and Todd Howard came out and admitted, yeah, that was a piece of shite. He didn't say those words, but it was. And they mostly turned around. The game is playable now, and there's going to be updates that are exciting.
Whoa, you telling me Fallout 76 has stopped falling out, is now actually a playable game?
That's what I'm hearing. Brilliant.
You've got Fallout 76. I fully anticipate a review from you.
Well, we did a review, we did the preview. We assigned one person to play the game and keep us updated with everything that came out. Everybody by January stopped playing the game because it couldn't run for 15 minutes without crashing. Literally, PS4 and PC, all of us had issues playing the game. So nobody's played it since January.
This start of this year has been an absolute flustercluck when it comes to AAA experiences. You pay the money for the AAA experience, for the immersion, and nothing happens. And then you get to a massive conference like E3. I know it's not as big as Gamescom, and I know I've been dishing a lot of filth towards E3 because honestly I don't think it's necessary. This is what left me very underwhelmed. Cyberpunk 2077, yeah, cool, happy days. That's a cool game. But honestly, apart from Keanu Reeves going to Cyberpunk and telling them to make me Johnny Mnemonic, I don't see anything else worth really mentioning. Yeah. Sad but true.
I think there's plenty. I mean, Watch Dogs are now playing a little bit, and even the way they mentioned it, again, I'm going back to Ubisoft, the way they mentioned or introduced Watch Dogs Legions, which is set in, is it fair enough to say, post-Boris London? When they say, well, Brexit, what's going to happen afterwards? Well, here's an absolutely dystopian London. It's interesting that they're going that way. It's a fun take, and it'll be nice to see what they can do. Not to mention, I want to play as Helen because she looked awesome.
Okay, yes, I'll give you that. I will give you that. Helen did look pretty cool. Were you excited for the Borderlands 3 information that came?
I ignored it because at the moment I said I'm tired of not Borderlands but Pitchfork, so I'm just ignoring Borderlands. I don't think it's relevant at this stage. It might be relevant later if he can shut up, but nope, I'm keeping away from it.
Fair enough. I'm glad I poked you about it. Okay, so it seems that you're pretty much underwhelmed, like myself, with regards to E3. Well, this is interesting.
I think there was a lot of good things. There's a lot of, like Animal Crossing finally being announced. Yay for them. There was a lot of smaller announcements. If you only look at the big titles, it was boring. But if you look beyond them, beyond the big thing that each presentation really had, if you ignore the 7 different versions of Final Fantasy. Sorry, I appreciate people like it. Go for it. Enjoy it. I just thought that was a little bit one-sided. If you ignore those things, all the bits in between have been freaking amazing, and there's been a lot of awesome announcements.
Well, I've only had to catch up on the restreams of the highlights and basically the re-announcements of the big things at E3. As I've said before, on Monday and Wednesday, I wasn't able to catch many of it because I had to work. Work sucks, but you have to do it. So yeah, most of my focus was on the big sort of titles, and yes, perhaps maybe I should have made a little bit more time, scheduled myself better, and actually looked beyond the hype train, and actually looked at the carriage behind the hype train and see what's actually going on at E3. Maybe I would have had a better experience this time around. having watched the streams, I think, yeah, that's it, really.
If you notice, the first one I brought up was literally Devolver Digital, Mediatronics, The Fall Guys, which was a weird little game. But as you point out, perhaps time is passing by E3 and these really big presentations, which is also Devolver Digital's message, part of it at least, in theirs, which was, yeah, we killed the woman who's our pretend CEO, who does our pretend E3 presentations, and now it's Devolver Direct, where we just present a bunch of games and done. Like, they're pointing out that the market is moving forward. They're still doing it because, fuck sanity, that seemed to be Devolver's message. But the presentation, the little pre-recorded video clip they had, that was part of it. Time is moving away from these giant presentations in giant auditorium.
That costs giant shitloads of cash that could be better spent elsewhere. I do think you're right there. Time is moving on. I think the gaming community, the gaming, needs to move on with it. There's other ways to advertise a game. I mean, case in point, look how popular Doom became, and that was even before any of this E3 internet nonsense came on. You had to get the game via check in the mail. I mean, my God.
At the same time, did you see that? The presentation, literally every time somebody said something on stage during Bethesda's presentation, there's a bunch of people cheering, and some of them wearing the Doom helmet and everything. Talking about Doom and this way of presenting things being outdated, I think particularly Bethesda shows, there are fans who really want this, who want to be in that auditorium, who want to holler and scream at everything that gets said because they're that excited about it. I think they should keep doing them, but I think they should scale them down and do more of them. Not this one big at E3, but make this go out like CCP's doing these days. They're not doing one big event in Iceland this year. They're doing them all over the world. Do that.
Oh, just about to say that. Why do they do smaller presentations? They can perhaps sell tickets to acquire some of the fundage themselves, and actually launch the news and information from there. Stream it, get the information out. Done.
Yeah, because everybody wants to meet other people who play the same games. We all want to go to TennoCon. We all want to go to the party up north in Iceland that Eve doesn't have anymore, apparently. We all want to go to those events and see people play the same game as us. But don't do it one place. Do it everywhere.
Agreed. And I think this is what's going to happen to E3. So it's going to break apart and fall to pieces. Right, guys, that is our sad, downer take of E3 this week. Not much going on. However, if you just lift the lid just a bit, pull the cover back just a touch, there's a lot of good that came out of E3 with a lot of announcements with regards to other games that weren't blinding you with the hype. Guys, my name is Bam Havoc. Thank you very much for listening to us. We'll see you next time. Cheers. TTFN.
Ciao.